You either got to figure out a way to showcase Jonathan Kuminga to trade him for a mega deal, or you got to play Jonathan Kuminga to win the game that you're actually in. And either way, it means you're playing him. I think Kuminga needs overplay minutes right now to either prove that he is worth not trading or get somebody out there to look at him and go, all right, you know what? We don't need Kuminga and a pick. Kuminga's going to be enough. Like this is who I will make this big trade for. And I just feel like the Warriors aren't showcasing him the right way, nor are they getting the most out of him that they need for themselves the right way right now.
And this is where I'd love to pose a question to you, Damon, because there is one scenario where I could stomach Jimmy Butler coming back. And that's if it's a trade that's centered around Andrew Wiggins. And look, I've been critical of Wiggins the previous 2 years. I was also advocating for the Warriors to trade for him. I'm all about the moment, dude. Like people like
1-for-1, Wiggins for Butler. That's it. Okay, we can talk.
The last 3 games, we've finally seen Kuminga getting the minutes that we've all wanted. At least folks like myself who think that this kid should play, think the potential is real.
I want him 20-30 a night.
And the last game, for example, he put in 36. And the good news is, look, it seems Kuminga was likely never going to be Kerr's boy. Like Kerr has made it very obvious that Kuminga is not the perfect fit for him, right? Which begs the question, why draft him? Kerr is very much involved in all those decisions. So it's like, why draft the kid? I know that they won the title his rookie year and that changed everything. But with that said, you still have him on your team. Like, you got to treat him appropriately. These last 3 games, I think, with Draymond making those public comments, relegating himself to the bench his first game back, him and Steph both publicly saying that Kuminga is the face of the franchise moving forward. Like, the momentum seems to be now in place, thanks largely to the veteran players, that Kuminga is the guy. And what we've seen the last 3 games, I feel like Kerr's at a point now where he can't hold him back anymore because it's just too obvious that he's a vital part of this team. And like you said, if you're going to trade him, you got to play him as well to boost his value. But I think he's staying. I mean, the more I watch this Warriors team and from what I'm reading and hearing, I don't think he's being sent anywhere. And if the Warriors are going to make a trade, Damon, and I love to talk trade because the market this year is going to be hot. And the reason why I love talking about it now and why I think the Warriors would be foolish not to get involved in this trade market is because this season is a buyer's market. And that's what I'm harping on full-heartedly is if you're going to make a deal, this is the year to do it. The capture the flag race is perfect. It feeds right into what the Warriors need to do because thanks to Cooper Flagg and that top-heavy draft for the next year, you have a lot of teams tanking. And this is the moment where DeAnthony Melton's expiring deal carries suddenly a ton of weight. And something as simple as a second-round draft pick can get you back a player. My number one target is Nikola Vučević. I know we're going to talk about Jimmy Butler. We're going to talk about those Brooklyn Nets players because Shams Charania reported that. But Vučević, to me, should be the number one target because you don't have to give up anything. You can trade literally DeAnthony Melton's expiring, GP2's contract, or Looney. You got to give up one of the two because both those players also have expiring contracts. Throw in a second-round pick to make the Bulls happy. They're in the middle of a rebuild. They don't want Vučević long-term. And get back a center who will complete the identity of this team and give you that starting 5 that could ease pressure off Trayce Jackson-Davis for this year, that could bring Looney off the bench where he should be coming from. And I'm predicting this, Damon. If they make that trade, they're winning the championship this year. I really think Vučević would be that perfect of a fit. But point being, it's a buyer's market. They got to act this year, man.
It feels like they know that too. Like they had this sort of plan that they were just going to conquer the NBA with a level of depth that no other team could really have. Again, this is not how basketball works at a YMCA level, really. And we knew that reality was going to come and meet them. And sure enough, it did. And I do think that DeAnthony Melton was such an interesting piece that I don't want to say that removing him from the equation might be a good thing in the long run, but they might have stuck with something that was unsustainable had Melton stuck around, and they really are trying to play 13 guys a night. And that's just that is not how basketball works. Good point.
Yeah. So, and that his contract is valuable. The fact that it's expiring, the fact that it's worth nearly $13 million. I did not expect Melton's value to come from his contract and not the player itself, but that 13 million, the fact that it's expiring is lucrative. The fact that it carries as much value as it does is lucrative, so you can make trades happen. I mean, that signing was huge in that respect. And the fact that you have a lot of tanking teams out there who are happily taking that on, knowing it's off the books. And here's the best part. If you liked watching Melton play for the Warriors this year, that injury, and I'm never wishing injury on anyone, but if there's a bright side to it, besides the fact that the contract is enticing for a lot of other tanking teams, DeAnthony Melton could come back to the Warriors next year, and he could come back at a cheaper price, sadly, because of the injury. But the point is, if you loved Melton in a Warriors jersey, and I think he was happy here, he might still be back. That's the beauty of this, Damon.
So give me the trade. It's up to you. You get to put one trade on Mike Dunleavy's desk, and he will execute that trade. What are you doing?
I'm doing Vučević because I like this team, the way they're rolling. They've got good chemistry. I agree with with Kerr's philosophy of not messing with something if it's good, right? Like, you don't want to disrupt things. But with that said, this team as currently constructed is not good enough to win a championship. I don't think you're disrupting things tremendously by making a trade for Vučević, a center who's got a high IQ, who spaces the floor. Just last week had a 39.8 rebound a night. The guy can play. I think he would be a fantastic fit. Backup plans, given we know that the Warriors have reached out to the Nets. Cam Johnson would also be a great fit. He wouldn't cost much either. He'd be your small ball five. He spaces the floor.
I'm sorry, not to cut you up, but just go back for a second. It feels like the whole possibility of Zach LaVine, it feels like that ship has sailed. I haven't heard his name attached to the Warriors in like a month now.
He's had a good year, which is kind of crazy. Did you grow up a Bulls fan, by the way? I know you grew up in Indiana, but you're a Bulls. Oh, so what's your take on Zach LaVine? Because that dude, like, he can play, but he's got that contract that no one wants. He's making too much money for the Warriors.
It's just too expensive for damaged goods. I mean, what would you have to give up to get a guy who, again, is kind of on that? Sure, I'd be interested if you could put 3 weeks together. I mean, I already know that Zach LaVine's, he's got tightness in his hamstring. He doesn't even have tightness in his hamstring, but I also know that there's definitely tightness in his hamstring because there always is. It never leaves. It's always there.
Now, someone yesterday in the Golden Days chat brought up an interesting trade, which I'm not super high on Josh Giddey. I don't know how you feel about him, but the trade involved the Warriors. They're making a deal with the Bulls to get Nikola Vučević and Josh Giddey. You're giving back Brandin Podziemski in that trade. So you're not only getting a center, but you're also getting a bigger point guard who Steve Kerr loves. The Warriors wanted Josh Giddey in the 2021 draft. He got picked by the Thunder right above the Warriors, but Kuminga fell to the Warriors in that process, which wasn't expected, and that's how that draft played out. And I wouldn't mind it if you're swapping Podziemski for him. That's, to me, is a nice swap. I would accept that if you're also getting Vučević in the process. But what are your thoughts on that? Would you rather have Giddey? Do you like Podziemski? What would you do there?
I would be interested in Josh Giddey, the player. You're not getting a defender at all, but no. Definitely more of a shooter, more of a. Here's the thing: Brandin Podziemski is supposed to be what Josh Giddey is.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah,
and the fact that one guy's a little bit bigger than the other makes me more interested, even though he doesn't play defense like he's that much bigger than the other. I don't know, man. Just Brandin Podziemski, like I get a different whiff off him every other time I see him. There's times when I'm like, okay, it's just enough here. This is no more. And then there are other times I'm like, this guy is a scrappy white boy, just kind of pepper pot, pain in the ass, Patty Mills level, just annoying. You want him on your team type of guy. And then he goes away, and then he's not that guy, and then he is. Just, every shot in the fourth quarter is a missed shot. Every pass hey, you're up 12, and the only thing you got to do to not stab yourself in the heart tonight is to not stab yourself in the heart with like 3 bad plays in a row, and he's at the center of those. So, I don't know. For a guy who's supposed to be I understand he's young, but isn't the whole thing about him is that he's an all-court sort of polished player? Okay, well then be that. You can't be the guy who makes the mistake and doesn't hit the shot. You can't be that guy. And that's basically what Steve Kerr said. He cannot do these things for us. He cannot do what he did to help Denver come back in that game the other night.
Like those cross-court hook passes that fly into the stands.
What are you trying to make a and one mixtape tour? What do you think? You the professor? So that can't happen. Thanks for watching. Tune into the Damon Bruce Show live on YouTube every weekday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific.